The legendary pike that never existed. Or did it? In this video, I'm diving into the 10 biggest pike caught in Europe in 2024. A year full of massive fish, crazy stories, and more than one catch that borders on the unbelievable. I've spoken to some of the top pike anglers from across the continent, gathered major tournament data, tracked down social media whispers, and uncovered a story unlike anything I've ever heard before. A pike so massive, so unbelievable, that no photos have made it into the public eye. Caught by a fisherman who doesn't want his name known, doesn't want to share his photos, and won't speak out publicly. This legend only lives on through the whispers of the people who know him. One of them agreed to talk to me, off the record, and the story that he tells might just change how we look at record pike fishing altogether. Hi, I'm Pip Hiemstra, and welcome back to Kanalgratis.se. Before we get into the first fish, let me explain a little bit to you guys what we're going to be doing here. I've put together a simple sheet to keep track of all the key details from all these different catches. Things like the length of the fish, and where it was caught, and on what type of spot. What time of year, what type of techniques and lures were used, and whether or not there were more big fish caught in that same session. We're going to be looking for patterns, like are all of these fish caught in the same month? Are certain lures or techniques more effective than other ones? How does the weather really influence the fishing? And are monster pike usually caught alone, or do they really come as groups? By the end of the video, we should have a much better idea of what actually leads to catching truly giant pike. So let's fill in the first row and get started with fish number 10. Number 10 is a fish of a whopping 132 centimeters. But for full clarity, there are 4 fish of 132 centimeters tied for places 7 to 10 on this list. Our first fish of 132 centimeters was caught by Joakim Bretun, a die-hard analytical angler from Norway.
Yes, I'm a 41-year-old guy from Norway, lives in a small town with about 7,000 people in Løten, next to Norwegian's biggest lake, where I often fish and spend the most of my time. I have a personal best in length is 133, and my personal in weight is 1742.
As with many of us fishermen, Joakim started fishing at a very young age, but didn't pick it up as seriously until a lot later.
Yes, I've been fishing almost my whole life. Maybe I was 3 years old or something when I started to fish with my dad. Enjoy it now as much as I did back then. When I took it back again and started for full, I was all into streamer fishing for trout again, and I was all in on that. So and then I came back on pike and perch and trout. I usually fish for those 3 species.
Okay, time to get to the big fish. The reason why Joakim is on the list for the top 10 longest pike caught in 2024. This fish was caught in October during the online fishing tournament, the European Pike Masters. Let's hear some details about how that happened and how and where Joakim caught a pike of 132 centimeters.
That one was in an area that I know it's often a big schools of breams and roaches that are coming out from a shallow bay because the water is going down and all the big bait fish is coming out. So this one I find in also using active target, but I found it was very active in shallow water. It was about in I think I have 4 meters under the boat, but it's next to deeper water. It was going in for hunting breams and roaches in the dark. But this one was right before midnight. And often I see the big fish goes in shallow water in the dark. So I know it was big fish there. So, but I think it was on the first cast it took. And I never vertical fish. I fish with the fish in front of me. So I like to cast at it and retrieve slow. On that fish, I also cast it in front of it, and I saw it, but it was active, so it was swimming around, and it was about 3 meters from the boat or something. So I see it, and it was just a noise in the active target, and then it take. So it was a cool experience. It was a really slackhug, what you call it, when they push the line.
Oh, slack line.
Yeah, slack line. Yes, so we pushed it. So I didn't feel the take before I see the noise, and then I understand it's coming.
Yeah.
And then I retrieving and lift the rod, and then I feel the fish. And often then you're not hooking them that good. But it was fairly good hook, so it's what.
Okay.
But the experience around it and with the way it took, it was pretty cool. And those big fish, when they take, usually they don't hesitate at all, especially when they are in the hunting mode, like they often are if you find them in shallow areas.
When it comes to big fish, there are a lot of questions, but one of the most popular questions will always remain the same. On what lure did you catch it?
Yeah, I caught it on my favorite lure. It's I'm fishing for gator Sweden. So I caught it on the gator catfish 35.
Okay.
And that's my go-to number one bait in the dark.
The gator catfish once again proving its worth. It's no wonder that Team Gator has won the tournament fly versus jerk not once, not twice, but 3 times. Some people say that when there is one big fish active, there are often more. But the thing with fishing stories is they're often just that, stories. So let's see what Joakim thinks about this and what he had experienced in this situation.
Right before I find this one, I was fishing on another one that also was active. About, I think it was 150, 200 meters or something away from there I find this one. But that one was not interesting at all.
Okay.
But I saw him and I just follow him and look and it was feeding on baitfish.
Yeah.
But my lure, it was not interesting. It turned a couple of times, but not interesting. And that one was also a big one.
Well, at least in this situation, it does seem that one big fish being active meant that there were multiple. But we're gonna have to see what the other fishermen say as well. When it comes to pike fishing, and especially big pike fishing, different fishermen will have different tactics on how they prefer to hook and land big fish. So let's see what Joakim's personal tactics are.
I do it really quick.
Really quick.
I have full break, always the full break on my reel, and I try to get it in the net as soon as possible. I fish also very much alone, focused on a good technique to get the fish in the net right away.
Yeah.
I don't fight it and let it take line or something.
Yeah. So not hook, then drag loose and then take your time. That's not.
No. It's full break. Maybe sometimes if they are a little loose, if they don't take right away, then I often loosen the brake a little bit.
Okay.
Just to make them have a little bit slack line before I can tighten the brake again and set the hook.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
But often it's full brake and short fight straight in the net.
I think most fishermen will agree that the more time you spend on the water, the more fish you'll catch, also just due to your experience. So let's hear how much Joakim actually fishes.
So I fish 3 to 4 times in the week.
Okay.
3 times in the week.
And then how long would you say your average session is?
It depends on water, but average about 5-6 hours.
5-6 hours.
Yeah,
3 times a week.
Ah.
You fish a lot, my friend.
Yes, I fish it. And I have a super nice family. My wife that let me do this.
Joakim's fishing skills are made quite clear purely by his results, catching multiple fish of around the 130 centimeter mark each season. And it seems like this success really comes from the reason why Joakim fishes altogether.
My main goal, it's not that I want to show off and everything, but it's what the big fish, what are they doing, why, and where. That's driving me. I always search for new knowledge about how they behave, and I think that's also a little bit of the success behind getting big fish. Is to think about why and knowing why. So for my biggest goal is to drive out and find the big fish exactly where I want to find it and get it on the exact time.
There are so many reasons for why fishermen go out to fish in the first place. But Joakim's reason to really understand the fish and find out what they're doing and why might be the reason that really results in trophy fish the most often. Since this video is all about trying to analyze, learn from the best, and trying to find out the important stuff when it comes to catching monsters, let's recap Joakim's catch, so look at his strategies again, and see the type of angler that he is, so that we can compare that all later to the other anglers as well. Let's start with the catch. The fish of 132 centimeters was caught in a shallow bay on a clear lake in October in Norway. This fish was caught on the gator catfish using live sonar technology to target the active fish specifically and cast on it. Then onto the angler. Joakim is a very analytical angler, focused on understanding fish behavior based on weather, water, and atmospheric conditions. He does this by spending lots and lots and lots of hours on the water in all conditions. Joakim fishes 3 to 4 times per week for about 5 or 6 hours per session. The combination of these things makes Joakim a very successful angler, catching multiple fish around the 130 centimeter mark every single year. Next, we have another one of our 132 centimeter fish, caught by family man Janne Kivelä, this time not in Norway, but in Finland.
So, hello, I'm Janne Kivelä in Finland, 42 years old, and have 4 children and wife. I'm the production manager in the steel structures, and I think I'm fish with all my life.
What I do think is going to become a little bit of a trend in this video is the technique that these anglers are using to catch these trophy pike.
I think my fishing is normally that we are casting with the live system.
Okay, casting with live.
Typically now.
Alright, let's get right into it. This 132 centimeter fish, just like Joakim's fish, was caught during the online tournament, the European Pike Masters. This fish was caught on the 1st of October. So let's let Janne tell us a little bit about how that fishing session went.
We had quick evening trip to the familiar lake with teammate Jukka. I think we are like 3 hours what we fishing and get this 132 and 116 and 107 and couple under meters, so quite good.
That's very good. That's very good.
Evening trip.
Alright, now let's hear the specifics on how he managed to catch a 132 centimeter fish that day.
It's the real familiar lake where we go this evening trip. There was some structures that we using the low dance live technology heavily. We have these 2 active targets. This fish was found in 5 meters, lying right against in the bottom. But we know exactly that it was really big. You cast before it take. I think there was 3, if I remember right.
Clearly, they had an amazing session of fishing that day, with multiple huge fish, including the 132 centimeter giant. I think a question on many of our minds right now is what conditions led to an epic fishing session like that?
I think it's about 18 o'clock in Finland time, and also partly cloudy, 7 degrees to warm and light wind.
So Janne actually had a relatively calm weather for the fishing that day, very different from the conditions that Joakim experienced during his 132 centimeter catch. Then let's get into the gear that Janne used to land this monster of a fish.
Yeah, we have Savage Pike casting reels, SG10 series, and also we use that new Alpha Rod series with the Savage Geara. And of course, I have this one of the favorite lures, new Savage Gear Whitefish, 27 centimeter motor oil. I think that's the top what we use.
Once again, soft lures do seem to be the way to go. In this case, a relatively large paddle tail lure, the Savage Gear Whitefish in a UV motor oil color. While I think many teams who fish with live sonar will assign a fish to a specific person, Janne's boat does it a little bit differently in order to capitalize on different fishing presentations from different anglers.
We have these two guys and 2 first casting.
So he made a cast, then he made a cast, and then you made a cast.
Yes, we do like that because we have different color of lures. But still, it doesn't matter who gets that.
A very interesting method when it comes to live fishing on a specific fish with multiple people. Letting everyone take a single cast, all with different colors of lures, and then hope that the pike will take one of them. Gear is one thing, but tactics are another. Janne and Joakim do have similar tactics when it comes to hooking and landing monster pike.
First thing is really important that you have to be some with the heart, because if you take it too softly, it might be a go away. So then we typically take it quickly on the net.
To be able to catch monster fish like this, it often costs anglers quite a lot of time in searching and in fishing. So let's hear how much Janne actually fishes.
If we go twice a week, it's quite good, but
So more like once a week.
yes.
I was actually a little bit surprised by this, especially because of the answer that he gave when I asked him how many 120 centimeter fish he catches each season.
I think 10 to 20 over 120.
10 to 20 over 120.
Yes.
Okay. That's very impressive.
Alright, time to add all of this new information to our comparison document over here. This fish was caught using live technology in the evening while it was still light on a lake in Finland. This fish was lying on the bottom over 5 meters of water. It ended up taking a Savage Gear whitefish, 27 centimeters, in a UV motor oil color. Janne is an angler quite focused on getting to know his water, so much of his fishing time goes into exactly that. All of this together makes Janne and his team very, very effective fishermen, catching between 10 and 20 fish of over 120 centimeters each year. I find this super impressive, especially considering that he only fishes about 1 or 2 times a week. The next 132 centimeter fish on our list is from someone who I did not get an interview with, but who did give me extra details via social media about this catch. This fish is the first fish coming from my home country, the Netherlands, and was caught by German angler Tom Erntner. Not only was this catch caught during the European Pike Masters 2024, it was caught by a member of the winning team of the European Pike Masters 2024, Team Harz Fishing. Team Harz Fishing ended the finals of the European Pike Masters with a top 5 of 611 centimeters. This means an average of 122.5 centimeters per fish, a result to which I can only say, wow. While the last 2 fish were caught sharpshooting from a boat using live technology, this fish was caught pelagic fishing from a float tube. This method of fishing can be super effective and is becoming more and more popular all over Europe. Float tubes are generally cheaper than boats, and because float tubes are quite small compared to a boat, they're also more agile, and this means that it can be easier to position yourself well above a specific fish for this type of fishing. This specific monster was caught at night in a small lake connected to a river in the Netherlands. It was quite a windy night, and due to the high water levels in the Netherlands around this time, the water was relatively murky. Tom managed to spot this fish standing near some bream using his live sonar, and he managed to convince it to bite using a Berkeley Sick Vamper 22 centimeters, a lure I'm sure that many of you know about, especially if you're into pelagic fishing. The next fish on our list is the first fish to go over that 132 centimeter mark, only by 1 centimeter however. But it is also important to remember that as fish get bigger and bigger, each centimeter becomes more and more impressive to come by. This 133 centimeter beast was caught by Enno Oling during the European Pike Masters 2024. Since I did not get him into an interview, this is all the data that I have, so we don't have more information for us to analyze. As you might have noticed, we just skipped over one of the 132 centimeter fish on this list. But that is because the next fisherman has not 1, but 4 fish on the list for the top 10 longest pike of 2024. During the group stage of the European Pike Masters 2024, this man had a top 5 of 652 centimeters, meaning he had an average fish of 130.4 centimeters. Possibly one of the craziest pike fishing achievements that I have ever heard about. He is on our top 10 list with a 132 centimeter fish, a 134, a 135, and an incredible 137 centimeter pike. In order to get him for an interview in this video, I drove all the way to the edge of Belgium to meet him. I present to you possibly the most successful big pike angler in all of Europe, Cornet Walter, also known as Time for Pike.
My name is Cornet Walter. I live in Belgium. I'm 58 years old. Daytime, I'm an employer of a company who sells vegetables to a big supermarket. I fish since I was 7-8 years old. But the last 20 years, I only do on predator fishing, and the last 10 years, almost only pike fishing.
Cornet has fished for a very, very long time. And just like many other anglers, he clearly has a deep, deep passion for the sport. While his love for the sport is very, very clear, a lot of his success comes from his amazing tactics when it comes to night fishing with the new live technologies that have developed over the last few years.
When the live scope come out, I do pelagic fishing. It cost me 8 months of training to learn it, and after 8 months and a lot of hours on the water, I understand the signals, which fishes, which kind of signal, and then I just do pelagic fishing and sharpshooting and casting on the live scope.
There are many fishermen that use live technology very successfully when targeting pike, but there are not many, if at all any, that produce the type of results that Cornet does. So let's hear what he does differently from other anglers.
The difference between me and the other guys is I searching for the pikes who are lying on the bottom of the lake. They are hard to find because you have to know the signals, to learn the signals, and it's like vertical fishing, not pelagic fishing. Most of the people go out and say, oh, pelagic fishing, we have a live scope, we go on deep water, and we just searching in the area like 10 meters deep, 12 meters deep on the stream, but the most of the pikes are just lying on the bottom of the lake. They are not swimming. I also make a lot of kilometers in one night. There are nights that I like 40 kilometers on the water searching for the pike, and I go like 5-6 kilometers an hour.
While Cornet caught many insane fish in 2024, let's start with his 135 centimeter fish, which takes spot number 4 on our top 10 list. This fish was caught on the first night of the European Pike Masters, September 28th.
As the weather was fine, it was not so windy, it was a nice day, a nice night, and the fish, I found a hole on the water, and there was a lot of big fish in, but they don't want to bite. So I try for 1 hour several pikes, but they don't want to bite. So I take another spot, and after 1 hour, 2 hours, I go back, and then they are hot. So every pike I saw, I catch, and it was a lot of big pikes there. And the same night, I also catch a 130, 32 or something, 128, 127 and 117. So the first night I got 5 big fishes. So yes, it was perfect start of the competition.
Absolutely insane. I don't think I've ever heard anyone speak so calmly about catching multiple 130s and 120s in a single night. In terms of big fish, this might just be the craziest day of fishing that I have ever heard about. Period. Hearing stories about nights like these, sessions like these, always leaves me thinking, what led to that night being just so successful? Let's see what Cornet has to say about that night. Why was it so successful, and why were the fish behaving in this way?
Yes, in winter time, it's normally you catch 1 pike, 2 pikes, and then maybe for 2 hours, 3 hours, nothing, and then you get the moment every pike want to eat, and normally in the summer you don't have it, but this night it was like the winter time. Why it happened so, I don't know, but I try it, I go back after 2 hours, and the fish was on, so it was a good decision to do it. But why? I don't have an answer on this question, because if I had that, I had a lot of more of these moments. But when you go out and you fish a lot, then there's always a moment that you catch a lot of pikes or something, or zanders or perch. But you have to go out.
The 135 centimeter fish was also caught by a lure very different from what we have heard so far. Not by a lure from some big brand that we all know about, but a lure made by Cornet's own hand.
The 135 was on my own lure, the ugly. The ugly, when that was last year, and I was at home, and I say to myself, I have to try to make a lure by myself, and I just make an experiment, and I make a lure, and it was really ugly. I say, no problem, I take it with me on the boat, and I go out, and I catch a lot of fish with this lure, and now we have a lot of colors in this lure, and it worked very well. It worked very well, yeah.
Many of us have favorite lure colors and shapes and types when it comes to fishing. But most of us do fish during the day. Since Cornet is a night fishing expert, let's hear what he has to say on the subject when it comes to night fishing.
The lure matters, but I think with night fishing, the color don't matter. You need two different lures. One lure who is black or red or something, and another lure who let light go through. Transparent more, this kind of lure. And also it can make a different silhouette of the silhouette of the lure. If it is like a big lure or a smaller one, that can make it different, but the color that makes it different.
A very interesting take on lures at night. And since Cornet has an incredible track record of big fish, I am very inclined to believe him at his word. While this 135 centimeter fish was already a dream fish for any pike angler, Cornet did not stop there. He caught a 137 centimeter fish on the first day of 2024. So let's let him tell the story about how he caught that fish, only 1 centimeter under the official Dutch record.
It was 1st of January. First we want to go fishing on New Year's night, but the other guys cannot come with me, so I say, okay, I go one night later. It was very windy, storm. It was like 5 degrees. Sometimes it was rain. I was all wet from the waves, but it was bad weather, really bad. So I take the boat, I go to the Netherlands, big lake. Nobody was on the water, it was very stormy. It was a little bit dangerous, but I have a good boat. So I went out and I catch a lot of big fish.
In fishing, different anglers will have different standards when it comes to what they mean when they talk about big fish. So let's hear what Cornet, a big pike fishing expert, means when he's talking about, I had a lot of big fish.
The night I catch like 10 fish above 110, and it was 114, 119, 129 and 137.
Honestly, I don't really even have the words to describe a fishing session like that. So let's just let Cornet get on with it. On what type of spots does he even find all these fish anyway?
It was in the middle of the lake. There's like a mountain under the water, and it's just 4 or 5 meters deep. And the fish was lying on the top of the hill. I caught the 129 late in the night, and yes, I had no energy, and I was happy. Before I caught 9 other fish, big fish, and I threw the 129 back, and I look on my screen, and I see another big signal. I say, it's not the same fish, he's much bigger. So I take the rod and I go a little bit of back trolling, and the waves coming in the boat, everything was wet, and I drop, and immediately the pike takes a lure, and I went on my knees, and the front trawler on spot lock. And yes, a big fight, and after like 15 minutes, you go like 5-6 times 30 meters, 40 meters away, bring him back to the boat, and once he was in the net, I just was thinking, maybe it's 140, oh. But it was 137, yeah.
It's one thing to catch a 129 centimeter pike, but catching a 137 right after is just unbelievable. While the 135 centimeter fish we talked about earlier was caught on a relatively calm night, this 137 centimeter fish was caught practically during a storm. Let's hear about how Cornet thinks that affected the fishing that night.
For me, it was a special night because it was very, very windy and a lot of commotion on the water. So I think the pikes didn't hear the boat as good as normal, and they were very active because every pike I saw, I catch them. So most of the time, if the weather is bad, you catch more pikes.
It does seem that Cornet agrees with the general statement of many fishermen, that if the weather is bad, the pike fishing is good. I think it's clear at this point that Cornet's success doesn't just come from putting in the hours, but also effectively training his craft and getting to know his water better. But still, that leaves the question, how much does Cornet actually fish?
I go out 2 times, sometimes 3 times a week, and a session is 8 till 12 hours. When I fish alone, it happens like 16 hours, 18 hours. 2 years ago, I went out during the EPM on a big lake in Netherlands and was fishing for 52 hours on a row, and then I was like that.
Okay, putting in the hours is definitely one of the reasons why Cornet is so successful. I mean, a 52-hour fishing session? What even is that? But more seriously, putting in crazy amounts of hours doesn't just mean casting a million times until something goes right and you get that massive fish. I think if most of us were to put in the exact same hours with the exact same gear that Cornet has, we would still not be able to produce the same results of 120 and 130 centimeter fish like he does. Here is where it gets really interesting. While speaking with Cornet, he told me about some tactics for catching huge pike that I had never heard of before, and I hear quite a lot of fishing stories. I was expecting Cornet not for me to want to share these tactics in this video, but he was very open about it. So let's hear about some of the secret tactics that Cornet uses for when it comes to catching trophy pike.
Yes, I have a kind of fishing. I learned it 2-3 years ago. That is on the shallow waters. I fish pelagic. It's just 2 meters deep. It's not pelagic fishing, but then I use a rod like 10 or 12 feet long, because when it's not so deep and you come in the area of the pike with the motor of the boat, he recognizes the noise and he begins to swim. So I shut down the motor and I do it on the electro or the front roller, and I just standing there with a long rod, and then you can catch the pike. And yes, it's a special kind of fishing.
Okay.
I don't think anybody else do it.
You say long. How long is long?
12 feet. It's like 3 meters 60, 4 meters. I did it one time 5 meter rod, but then it's just good for 15 minutes or something.
Okay.
It's too heavy.
So these very large fish are apparently coming up super shallow in the night, and using this long rod vertical tactic, he can target these large fish much more securely than if he were just casting on them. So what type of rods does Cornet actually use for this? Most predator rods are going to be much too short.
There's a brand Fox who made the dead bite rods, and I have them like 10 years ago, and I used this rods.
Okay, so he uses long deadbait rods for this fishing. However, deadbait rods have a very different action. They're much softer than most lure fishing rods. So how does that actually work? How do you manage to even set the hook and land a fish while vertical fishing with a deadbait rod?
Yes, it's to set the hook, it's very difficult because they are too soft normally. So you have to strike very hard, and yes, and you have to take the fish to the boat with a long rod. It's not so easy. So it's a little bit of adventure on the boat.
I think we can say that this is a pretty insane tactic. I have never ever heard anyone talking about pelagic fishing for pike with 12-foot rods. But maybe that is why Cornet is one of the best. Big baits are getting more and more popular for catching big pike, but Cornet also came to me with a tactic about using very small lures to catch monster pike as well.
Normally size, everybody uses them is 18 till 25 centimeters.
Okay.
But sometimes I use also a very small lure of like 8, 9, 10 centimeters to do the pelagic fishing. And that is when I lost a fish. when the hook is coming out or something, and the fish is most of the time is going down on the bottom. Then I drop just in the area of the head of the pike with a very small lure to trigger the fish and take out the reaction. And sometimes he say, oh, go away and inhale, how you say it?
Yeah, inhale.
The small lure, and then you have to cast very fast because the hook is most of the time just a little bit on the skin or something.
Oh yeah.
Trigger. You have to just on the head of the pike, just go around the head of the pike, and then after maybe a few minutes, but sometimes 1 hour. But he will take the lure. Yeah.
So, just in case you didn't fully understand that, in this scenario, he's talking about when he finds a very big pike that doesn't want to bite, or a very large pike which he's already hooked, but he lost it during the fight. In that case, he will take a very small soft lure and just annoy the fish. He will keep that small lure in front of the head of the fish continually for a long period of time. And at a certain point, this big pike thinks, okay, I want to get rid of this fish. So the pike will blow at it to get the fish to go away. But the thing is, when a pike wants to blow at something, it has to open its mouth a little bit first. And when it opens its mouth, that creates a little bit of suction, which actually sucks that small light lure right into his mouth. Fishing with live sonars has taken the sport fishing world by storm in the last couple of years, and there is no doubt that it can be extremely effective. But there is also a very large discussion happening around this whole subject. So let's hear what Cornet has to say about it, and if he thinks that there are any misunderstandings when it comes to live sonar fishing.
I don't know if somebody do something wrong, because we all do fishing and we do it on our own use. But some people think we are using the live scope and we catch a lot of big fish. But there are a lot of people who have the live scope and they don't catch the big ones. You have to be lucky to see them, but also we have to be very careful to catch them because they are very old, they know what is going on. So first you have to try to sharpshooting. When the weather allowed it, it's too stormy, you cannot do it, but first try to sharpshooting, and then you have to be very careful. And when you have him and he takes some attention and maybe he don't take the lure, leave him alone and come after 15 minutes, 20 minutes back and try it again. But not all the time. If you have a big fish, don't try all the time to drop on the fish because he knows that you are there and he don't will bite there.
A very nice take on the live sonar discussion in my own opinion. Aside from his very successful solo fishing missions, Cornet also does guiding at night for big pike, under the name Time for Pike.
I do guiding, especially by night fishing, and not 8 hours, it's always 10 hours, 11 hours, and if they have a good time on the boat, it's like 12 hours. And if you want to catch a big pike, I can show you the pike most of the time. But if I catch him, I don't know. It's always luck.
Okay, so this was a lot of information. So let's see how much of this we can add to our sheet over here. All of Cornet's fish were caught vertical fishing actively using live sonar to target specific fish, one coming from inside an underwater hole and the other one coming from on top of an underwater mountain. However, both fish were once again accompanied by multiple other very large fish as well, something that seems to be becoming a trend in this video. Cornet himself is an angler who puts in a lot of time and effort into his fishing. And while he did mention that it takes a lot of luck as well to catch these very large fish, his dedication to getting to know the water, the fish, and all of his techniques when it comes to this fishing, it is also very clear that Cornet is an analytical angler, just like our previous two interviews. Since Cornet filled up an absurd 4 slots on this list, this means that we have only 2 to go. During my research to find the right fish for this video, I spent my time digging through tournament results and social media looking for the right fish. And as I was doing this, I was talking to more and more people and receiving tips about where to look next. So when I looked at the tournament data for the European Pike Masters, I found that there were a lot of really big fish on here. But The thing is, all these fish were from this one tournament, all caught in October. And so the fact that there were so many big fish being caught specifically for that made me think that there should be a lot of other big fish caught outside of the tournament as well. But it turned out to be a lot more difficult than I expected. However, at a certain point, I started receiving some hints. Things about a fish that could dwarf every other fish up on my list until then. The potential legendary 140 centimeter pike. So I continued my investigation, but as I kept on digging, it became more and more difficult to get people to talk. Eventually, I made it to a friend of this legend. The person who is rumored to have potentially caught a pike of over 140 centimeters, but this is where I was stopped dead in my tracks. The legend who had caught this fish refused to talk, even if all essential information like names, places, and photos would not be used in the video. Luckily for me, the friend who I had been in contact with over social media did agree to meet me for an interview to talk about these rumors. In order to keep all ties to this legend anonymous, the friend's voice has been distorted and I cannot reveal their true identity.
Yeah, first of all, happy to be here, and hopefully I can shed some light on the big pike mysteries. Yeah, about me, I have worked with fishing all my life, so over 12 years now. I've been a fishing guide for a couple of years full-time in Sweden and in Netherlands mainly. So yeah, I've fished some waters that contain big pike. I was able to catch some of them.
But we're not here to hear about him. We're here to hear more about this record-breaking catch. How did you even run into this catch?
Just by coincidence, there was a friend from the region that posted a fish that was 125 or something. I was like, hey, great fish, congrats. Was a big, fat fish as well, very beautiful, perfect condition. And he was like, yeah, 125. It's possible here, a friend of mine. And then we went on to the really, really big fish. But as mysterious as those fish are, often the fishermen are also as hard to find as the fish. It's what you said, they just don't want to appear on social media. Sometimes it's small waters and you're the one person that knows that there's really big pike in there. So yeah, I can understand that you want to protect your water then.
So, 125 centimeters was not even in the top 10 for this guy. Exactly the type of people that I was looking for this video. After hearing from this friend, I asked him to dig a little deeper to see if he could find some evidence, some proof that this fish had actually been caught. And a few days later, he got back to me, saying that he had photos. And then it was time for the moment of truth. How big was this fish exactly?
Yeah, I got the photos, and yeah, it's clearly approved 140 plus, and it's not only one, it's two over 1.40 m. Crazy fish. The measuring board ended at 130, so you can see that it's far above that 130 mark, and so yeah, it's 143, 45, something like that. The other one looks like 143, something like that, a little bit shorter, but definitely two different fish over 1.40 m. Yeah.
Wow, so this changes things even more. Now we're talking about not one, but two fish of over 140 centimeters? Where does this story even stop? The thing is though, with all of the technology that's available these days, including AI and everything, how can we even know for certain that these photos are actually real?
It's such bad Samsung S3 camera images that I doubt that it's AI influenced. I'm very convinced that they are real because I have three different pictures of that fish. One held in hand, one close-up of the fin in the end, and one in total on the scale. So yeah, it looks very real. And I mean, there have been other fish 140 plus caught in the past. Yeah, I'm very convinced it's real. If I knew where it was, I would go there and catch an even bigger one.
So this brings us to the details of the fishing. Were these fish even caught on lures at all?
Yeah, they were caught on lures, big baiting from shore, yeah.
So this is just absolutely next level. Up to now, our largest fish, already a giant, was 137 centimeters. But now we're talking about two fish of over 1.40 meters caught casting from shore with big baits. That is just absolutely crazy. How many people have even heard about these fish being caught so far?
I don't know about their network, but they seem to be very, very shy about telling other people. So, yeah, not many people know about that fish.
So, that's good to know. Up to the release of this video, almost nobody even knows about the existence of these fish being caught. Since I completed the interview with the friend, I also have been able to see these pictures, but I'm still not allowed to use them. I also do think that the chance that these pictures are fake is very, very small, and therefore I can confirm 2 fish of over 140 centimeters being caught in 2024. Something that I, for one, had never expected before starting research for this video. This crazy story finally fills up our top 10 list for biggest pike caught in 2024, with 2 fish of over the 140 centimeter mark. While I do not have a very large amount of information on these fish, what I do know is that they were caught casting big baits from shore, which puts them just on a completely different level. And that is leaving aside the fact that they were both over 140 centimeters. While I don't know when, where, or by whom these fish were caught, the friend did say that these fish were pre-spawned fish, and after looking at the photos, that is what I can confirm. So I can tell you that these fish were caught in the spring of 2024. So at this point, I thought the story had ended. The list was complete, and the legend would remain silent. But then, I got this. Alright, that was the full top 10 list of the biggest pike caught in Europe in 2024. And as you just saw, yeah, things are getting quite interesting. I got a message from the legend himself, and we are now in direct contact. And if all goes well, there will be a separate video coming out just about his story. But for now, this is where the top 10 list officially ends. So if that's what you came for, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to click away here. But if you're one of the serious ones, one of the really nerdy pike anglers that wants a little bit more, I've got something special for you. I sat down with Paolo Pacchiarini, a world record holder for pike on the fly with a fish of 143 centimeters. And after that, we're gonna wrap it up with a full analysis of all of our data. What lures worked, what conditions lined up, and what we can actually learn from this. If that sounds like your thing, let's get into it. I present to you the holder of multiple IGFA world records, including one for catching a 19.5 kilo, 143 centimeter pike in August of 2020, Paolo Pacchiarini. Some of you probably already know Paolo, also because of the hugely popular fly fishing wiggle tails that he's developed that have become very famous, especially due to their use in fly versus jerk. Everyone that we have spoken in this video is a huge die-hard angler. So what does it really take to become a world record angler?
Every day when I open my eyes, I thinking about fly fishing, and before go sleep, I thinking about tomorrow and fly fishing. So it's about my mind is 365 days a year I thinking about fly fishing. So this is my life. This year exactly is 40 years that I fishing only with the fly. Okay, because I started fishing only with the fly in 1985. So this is 40 years. And for me, it's completely changed my life.
While Paolo has many impressive fishing stories for us to talk about, let's try to keep it to his pike fishing for this video.
I started fishing with the pikes about 30 years ago, and I started to catch the first pike. After that, I started to travel around the world, like Alaska or Canada, Alaska, for catching a big, huge pike. I caught some about 46, 49 inches, but my dream was 50 inches. I visit a lot of other places in Europe, and like always, I caught my 2 biggest pike in Italy.
Paolo has been fly fishing for pike for over 20 years, always searching for possibilities for innovation. So let's hear how all of that finally translated into his world record fish, which he caught on a lake in Italy in the summer of 2020.
This lake, there are a good population of big fish. It's very tough lake, because some people thinking that, oh, we can go there and catch numerous or big fish. Is not like this, because it's a lake that the pressure of fishing is very high. The season is short, only about 3 months, but the pressure is very high. So it's not easy to catch more than 2-3 fish a day, and not all big. So it's important don't lose the connection every cast, because only one time you speak with the friends, feel the bite, and for today my chance is gone. But if you have a focus to catch a big, this could be a good lake for catch a big.
So the lake where Paolo was fishing was a real big pike lake. But as with many big pike waters, that meant that it wasn't going to be easy. The fishing pressure was very, very high. But with the years of experience that Paolo had, he had some extra tactics up his sleeve to be able to deal with that as well.
I think that the pressure, most of the pressure is for spinning lure. And in my opinion, when there is a big pressure of spinning lure, you have more chance with the fly.
Lure fishing is often affected more by fishing pressure than fly fishing, because people tend to do it more. But nevertheless, these very big fish can be super smart and hard to catch. Let's hear what Paolo's tactics are for catching these monsters, or at least increasing the chances that he will get that one bite.
I try to don't use too much the electrical engine, but I use the windy, because the approach is needed that is very, very accurate.
All in all, Paolo Paccharini's tactics on this lake were very careful and surprisingly finesse in my opinion, especially since he was targeting such large fish. So let's get into the full story of how Paolo caught the world record fish in August of 2020.
The first day that I'm fishing, I don't catch nothing and don't see nothing. The second day, I have only one bite of the small. And about the early afternoon, I decided to change the tactics, and I decided to don't fish in very close to the shore, but a little bit in distance, about 4 meters deep. I caught this fish with a heavy fly, because in this lake the fish react very well to eat the big fish on the fly that was on the bottom. So because I use a fly that arrived on the bottom and come up about some 30 centimeter or something and let it go. So the fishing was very low, very slow. The retrieve and wait. So sometimes it's possible fish feel the bottom is not a bite, but it's important to set the hook all the times, because the fish big there are lazy, because have a lot of food, and it's difficult to have a very strong bite. And I was lucky, because just when I decided to change this approach, the second cast, I feel a bite. But I'm not sure that was a really bite, because in the day I just feel like this 2-3 times and I set the hook a stick. So also this time I feel that little bit heavy. I set the hook, and for 1 second I wait and it's feel boom, boom. Okay, this is the fish. I set the hook more, and I start to tell to my friends, it's a big fish, because I feel heavy. I put a lot of pressure, because the water that go inside in some stick, in some rocks, and after some second, the big fish that go near the surface. If I lost the fish. In this case, I thinking that I estimate 1.20 meters. So don't exaggerate, okay? So I tell, I feel big, but don't imagine like big was.
So the tactic for catching this fish was using a heavy fly all the way on the bottom, in between all of these sticks and trees that were there. And that is how he got his bite. But fighting a fish of that size on the fly, I can imagine, is something else completely.
I remember that probably is the longest fight that I had with the pike, because usually the pike is not a great fighter, but probably because don't want to lose the fish, probably because so the fish was big and heavy, probably because the net was big, but the fish is huge.
Having a pike like that on the hook and realizing that your net made for pike and muskie might not even be big enough must have been an absolutely crazy feeling. But in the end, they did manage to land it.
Fortunately, I used 2 hooks in these flies, and the second hook I grabbed exactly under the mouth, but the problem that the first hook was outside.
Okay.
I'm asking to my friends to pay attention, to put in the net, because we have only one chance. Put inside or I risk to lose the fish, so I prefer that was a little bit tired, and when I arrive to put in the net and don't risk to lose. I remember that I don't believe what was so big when put in the net, and my friends said aloud that in the evening when come back in the harbor, some guy that fishing in opposite side of the lake just know about the news, because here.
By the time they got back to the ramp that day, the entire lake had already heard about this fish because they had been shouting so loud when they caught it. But what nobody but the guys on the boat knew was that this was a new world record at 19.5 kilos and 143 centimeters.
I realized immediately when I put in the net, I just know that was a world record. I'm also an IFA representative, so because I know all the rules that are needed for the record, and I realized that it's a fish that can break all that was possible. And for the IFA rules, choose the record that you want, not with one fish you can do several records. And I decide immediately that I want the record for fly, because I'm a fly angler, okay? So, and with a tippet of 20 pounds that I used, we just know that was a world record, because it's very, very huge. You never see one fish like that.
Really an incredible catch by Paolo Pacchiarini, and my congratulations go out to him once again for catching this legendary pike of over 140 centimeters. If you've caught a pike like that one time in your life, I can imagine that pike fishing might just be ruined for you forever, because you know you will probably never catch a larger one.
And some people told me, oh, Paolo, but probably after one fish like this, you lost some enthusiasm to fishing again, because I know that I had one chance to catch one fish like this, but in the life, probably 2 will be too much. But I love fishing pike, and when I catch a fish more than 1 meter, in any case, I'm happy. So I don't lose any enthusiasm about the pike fishing. And when I have the chance for fishing pike and the season permitted, I dedicate again a lot of exit for pike fishing. I consider myself very lucky to have this type of opportunity in my life to catch a fish like this.
That is a very recognizable take on fishing, in my opinion. It's not always just about these monster fish, but also about really just enjoying the sport. Paolo's perspective brings something completely new to the table. A reminder that monster pike don't just come from brute force tactics, but also finesse, strategy, and decades of experience. With our top 10 list complete, let's look and see what type of similarities we can find between all of these catches. With the exception of our top 2 fish, which were caught from shore casting big baits, all 8 of the other fish were caught using live technology from a boat or a float tube, which does indicate that these live technologies really make a difference when it comes to catching monster pike. Another interesting similarity that we have here is that every single one of these fish was caught on soft lures and not hard lures. But on the other hand, soft lures are just way more popular when it comes to fishing with live sonars. So whether this has to do with the fact that soft lures are better for big pike, or just has to do with the fact that soft lures are more effective when it comes to fishing with live sonars, I don't know. Maybe this is just a case of, because live fishing is so effective for big pike, most of those fish are caught on soft lures. Most of these fish were actually caught during the European Pike Masters in October, and this does leave us with a few questions. Were there just that many more trophy pike anglers fishing because this tournament was happening? Was the data just so much easier to find because the tournament was active? Or is October just a superior month for when it comes to catching monster pike? In many parts of Europe, the fall can be a great time to target pike, as the pike are active, eating a lot to get fat for the winter. The exact reason as to why so many of these fish were caught in October, we'll never know. But maybe we should go and get out there a couple of extra times this fall. One of the things that many of these catches had in common was something that I did not expect. I had often heard big pike anglers saying that, yeah, when you find one active big pike, there are often others. But in my experience in hosting the tournament Fly vs. Jerk, this is something that rarely actually happened. Usually, a monster fish was not followed by other monsters. And finally, I cannot fail to mention that the two biggest fish on this list, both over 140 centimeters, were caught casting big baits from shore and not caught using live sonar from a boat. While fishing from a boat is often seen as a generally more effective method, I do think that this is very important to note. Just because you fish from shore doesn't mean that you can't catch monster fish. Yes, boats have many qualities that can make fishing easier, but in the end, these are the two largest pike that I have ever heard of, and they were caught from shore. At the end of the day, this list is not just about the biggest fish. It's about the stories, the dedication, and the passion that drives anglers across Europe to chase these trophy predators. Whether you fish with the latest tech or prefer old school instincts, one thing will always be the same: the thrill of that one perfect moment when everything comes together. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the most remarkable pike catches of 2024. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comments. Drop your own stories below, and please don't forget to like and subscribe for more adventures like this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.